Okay. Hi guys, I'm Afif. I'm a system admin at Etisalat, and one of the sort of pros and cons of like staying at such a big company is that there is a lot of extra work that you have to do, which is pretty much not what you are required to do as like in your job, right? And I'm not sure if how many of you guys are in like quote unquote large companies. Okay, so you have an idea, yeah, exactly. So you have an idea about like the all the extra stuff that happens, like let's say report making, I don't know, coordinating with teammates and all these email work and all that stuff. So I'm not really a big fan of that. I don't want to do it. So I wanted to find some kind of way where I could. So so yeah, so a lot of my time goes in that, and I just don't want to, just copy paste stuff in Excel and create generate reports and take action and all this yada yada yada. Uh, right now we can get AI to do it. So why not just get AI to do it instead of having me to do it? Now the issue with that is that big, like I don't know if other companies allow it, but definitely in big companies they don't allow you to sort of put PII in there, right? Like you can't put specific like company data within like a chat GPT or Claude or something. The way I have kind of solved this problem is through, I know it's a very hype term, but agents, right? So how I got this to work is I basically just a lot of prompting, a lot of code. I'll show you guys how it works, but this is all from scratch. It is not using LangChain. How many of you guys have used LangChain in the past? Okay, so how would you rate it from like bad to like dog shit? Yeah, pathetic. Exactly. So I've had a lot of really bad experience with LangChain. I don't want to use it anymore. So I'm trying to like use my own thing. It's honestly just API calls. So why not just do it yourself, right? Why do you need a sort of abstraction load on top of it? Anyway, I always rant against LangChain. I mean, these guys are very familiar with it.
Every AI thinkers, we have someone ranting against LangChain.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
We just call we hate LangChain.
yeah. So yeah. So I can't go through everything completely, but I can just show you how it works under the hood. There is a so there is what I use mostly is function calling, and the way function calling works is the LLM. You give like a bunch of tools like this. It's like a JSON object. You send this to the LLM, and it sort of calls the tool or calls a specific function on top here, execute SQL query or whatever, into the output itself when you're receiving the output from the AI, right? So if I say, hey, like, what can you do, or like, can you create an SQL query on this? It's going to look at the tools and say, obviously, it can do it by itself, but it's going to look at the tools and say, okay, what am I allowed to do, and what can I execute? Look at the tool, execute a SQL query. Okay, call it. What's inside the SQL query? So let me just go inside here. And it calls this function here. And by the way, the LLM does not have access to the function itself. Like you have to execute it once it calls in the output. So once it does call in the output, how do you handle it is up to you. And so this is how I handle it. And there is I've got like a case thing, and with each sort of tool, I have a case for it, and it just executes accordingly, right? So that's the honestly, it's so easy to just do it yourself. You don't need LangChain for that, right? And so there's a bunch of other tools here that I have been using. One of those is create chart. I'm not sure if you guys can see this. And then all these other, yeah. So the whole point of this is so that I can, I don't spend a lot of time doing reporting, which is like all I have to do is get a bunch of data and then just put it into, how I would do it manually is just like copy paste a bunch of stuff, go to Excel, make pivot tables, whatnot. I don't want to do that. So this stuff is where I can sort of take my data, my personal data. I'll show you how I solve the personal problem where it's like PII. I don't want to send it to OpenAI. It will make these charts and these line charts and cards and stuff for me. Now the difference is the personal stuff, right? It's my company's personal data. If I get caught doing that, I'm like pretty much sacked, right? So um, the cool thing about this is LLMs are, I mean, they're kind of stupid, right? So you have to be very, you have to verbalize like every single Sorry, I'm just trying to search for the file. Anyway, I'll find it later. Yeah, so in this system prompt, this is a system prompt that I did create. It's just my own, so don't judge. But in this, what I'm defining is that these are the tools that you can use. This is what you can do, and what you're supposed to do through each step. Right? You are in in a loop, and blah blah blah. What can you do, and all this stuff. Right? So when it does go into the loops, when it does execute, it generates the SQL query. Let's say I can actually show it to you here. Let's say right. So let's say a simple thing, card on total aisles, right? So in the backend, what it's going to do is it'll execute the SQL query. Okay. Now it says, okay, these are the total cards that I got from this output, and I'm going to display it. But the thing is, the LLM still has no idea like what goes on in the backend. It doesn't even know that there's this value right here, because I don't even once the function is called, I don't let the LLM like sort of take the data that has been outputted from this function, which is the tool result, which is the execute SQL query, the tool result. I don't give it to the LLM. I just pass it to the next call that I give to the LLM. So the LLM knows, okay, like I called it in here, which is the card on total aisles. It says, okay, execute SQL query. It knows what SQL query it did generate, but it doesn't know what the output is. So it says, okay, like I'm going to assume that I got some output, and using that assumption, I'm just going to make another sort of call with another tool that I'm going to call, which is the card tool, and use the output from that other sort of function, execute SQL query, use it in this, even though I have no idea what it is. So it's a kind of like a hack, but yeah, it has no idea what's going on in the backend. It has no idea to what my personal data is. And the other thing that I was running into is, I mean, sometimes you get like in Google Chrome, it's like what 10 MB storage. You can't really upload much just on the Chrome local storage. I don't think so. So the way I solved it is you just use like DuckDB WebAssembly, and you can set up literally. Huh?
Explain what's WDB.
DuckDB is like SQLite for Chrome, you can say. Yeah. So you can have, and they solve this like it's much faster than SQLite. It's much larger than the local storage, which is like I think around 2 GB is what they give in DuckDB, and it's all like isolated to your client, meaning your browser. So you use it on your browser, you upload your files, it goes on the browser storage. I'm not storing it any cloud at all. So you just need to like initialize it. You just need to initialize it here, right? And then here is where all the logic is happening. What happens when the file is uploaded? It converts it into a table, like this, and it gets the schema for the LLM. Schema goes into the tools. The LLM has context. Boom. Oh yeah, if you have any questions, like just feel free. Huh? Yeah. So yeah, from the table names. I mean, from the loaded tables here inside the DB itself that I store it first. I get the schema by giving like this SQL query here, and then it gets a schema. Then this schema is sent into this here, right? Into this update tools function. What the update tools function does is it will, yeah, it will just take the schema and put it here. Pretty much it, and then it gives it as a context, right? And yeah, it knows the schema. It looks at the schema, and then it generates the SQL query. Um, it's live if you want to use it. There's a few users on it, and you can sort of play around, have fun, I guess. It's called app.qdash.site if you want to try it out. It's completely private. I have no access to your data, so you can, I don't know, do whatever, maybe break it, right?
That's what they all said.
That's all they all say.
All right, you have 2 more minutes. We can take questions.
Okay.
Any questions? We'll take
Yeah.
You raised the problem around the private data should
Yeah,
not
yeah,
go
yeah.
through APIs. So I assume you are using a local LLM, and now you are mentioning the data is totally private. So
No, I'm not using.
the data I send, where it goes?
So
where is the LLM thinking?
the data, the way I have it set up, it's using DuckDB. Your private data is getting stored into the DuckDB, which is stored on the client in your browser. It's yours. It's isolated. It's not going to any cloud anywhere else. It's yours. I am using OpenAI, but still the private data isn't going into OpenAI. Why? Because I've like sort of not allowed it to see that information. It's open source. You can check everything.
You show the architect. You show the flow.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, you have the flow.
I do have the flow here. If can you see?
No, you need to zoom in. Definitely.
Oh, I need to zoom in. Okay.
Zoom in, zoom in.
Zoom in more.
Yeah, more. More.
I can't zoom in more. Okay.
There you go.
Okay. So this is just the initialization stuff. DuckDB, blah blah. What happens once it uploads? Um, how the how it interacts, OpenAI stuff like that, and then what tools are there that it can use. What how the data processing is done. DuckDB has its own thing. It's pretty interesting. DuckDB is I love it a lot, and then just UI stuff. Lastly, I saw that uh, someone got funded for this.
Really?
Yeah, YC funded, and they're doing exactly the same thing. It looks better in the UI with the UI that they have. It looks better, but it's pretty much the same thing.
What you need to do
And so-
is masala system.
Masala system, yeah.
There you go.
Coming to that, yeah, I could actually use it because I saw this. I got like, damn, like now I feel like working on it more. And so
Look at the URL.
bi.new.
Wow. Okay.
Exactly, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. So I mean, it's yeah. So I'm revamping the entire thing and building it with Remix now, which is like a proper like web framework. This is just using like right now it's using HTML, CSS, JavaScript, but I'm moving to Remix now. And yeah, this is how it looks at the moment. And I can chat with it, but I still have to figure out the backend, the tooling stuff. But I can sort of go in and chat with it because it looks like a typical like a chatbot, right? Like Chat GPT or like V0 or something. I kind of want to make it like that. And yeah, it's all working at the moment. But the backend is still something that I have to figure out.
For the
So-
demo that you showed before, that code is available on GitHub anyway?
It's all open source. You can even this is open source. You can just go take a look.
So you can probably share that later. I'm not
Yeah, yeah.
Do you have the link for that somewhere?
Yeah. I'll
share it later.
I'll-
It with the people.
I'll share it. Don't worry. Any questions?
So the result that comes out of the SQL
Yeah.
query, you have to pass it back to OpenAI API, so it formulates the BI components, right?
So the result itself does not go. The result is with you. What you do with the result is it's up to your like decision making, how you handle it in your code. The AI just knows that there was a result. It just assumes that there's a result because I set the prompt in that way. That it knows that okay, SQL query was generated. That means it has a result. That means I can move on to the next step. Obviously, it's a hack. I'm waiting for like the browser models to get better so I can just like have it isolated on the browser itself. But this is the way that I'm doing it right now, and it helps me for my work. So I kind of
So you have another small browser model to
no. That's in the future if it becomes better. Right now it's too heavy, so I can't. Chrome is doing that.
Google's doing that.
Google's doing yes.
Just one point about are you using internally Pydantic to for the schema?
Yeah, bro. This is all JS. This one is TypeScript. This one is TypeScript. This one is all JS. It's all JavaScript. There's no Pydantic. I didn't even type anything like types. I didn't do any typescripting at all. So yeah. That's that.
Last question. You have some.
Last question is just
Yeah, sure.
All right, fine.
Please, man.
You get a suggestion. Go on.
there is transformers.js and
I
it's up to you.
Yeah, that's true. There are models right now that can work. You're right. But the thing is, for me, I only need the AI for this part here, execute SQL query. That's the only part that I need. So if I can take even a small like 2 billion,
Exactly, a small model
Yeah, and then fine tune it or something. Yeah, yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.